I've never understood the parts of GTA 5 that involve Brad. It's always kinda confused me. I've never fully wrapped my mind around how that shit could make any sense.
And I am your guy. Let me explain to you part of Michael's original plan, and why the Brad and Trevor part of GTA 5 story actually does make sense. So I came across this video on TikTok, and it's this guy, he's just kinda off script, ranting about how he doesn't understand how the GTA 5 lore, specifically the part with Brad and Trevor, doesn't make sense to him. Usually with these types of videos explaining GTA 5 lore to different people and channels and such, I would usually make fun of them and make jokes. I'm not gonna do that. It's less of explaining why you're wrong kind of thing. It's more just generally explaining GTA 5 lore, because I quite like talking about lore from random games and things.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It just seems like such a forced part of the plot, and such a big oversight for an FBI, FIB, whatever you want to call it, an FIB agent Dave Norton to be like, you know what we should do? There's this psychopath, Trevor Phillips.
Just to be clear, Trevor isn't a psychopath. He's crazy, but he's not a psychopath.
And I think something that would keep the world safe from him is if we pretended to be his dead friend and sent him letters in the mail for almost a decade straight.
That was not Dave's original plan. That was not part of the original plan at all. That was entirely improvised by Dave. You see, the original plan was to kill Trevor and fake Michael's death. The only reason that that didn't work was because right as Dave took the shot to kill Trevor, Brad walks in front of Trevor and then gets hit and goes down. So Trevor was supposed to die. It was completely improvised by Dave. I will explain the reason why specifically they kept Brad alive in this version of the story. There's a few reasons, but Trevor was supposed to die. Dave wasn't sitting there thinking, let's keep this Trevor guy alive and then, you know, we'll use Brad against him. You know, it wasn't some calculated move. It was more so just an improvised thing. And to be fair to Dave, it's not the worst plan in the world.
Right. Hope you get hit by a bus today, you fucking wanker.
They love using that phrase. It should keep it. We were keeping him at bay.
Maybe I'm nitpicking here, but Dave never directly says we were keeping him at bay, because that's not quite what Dave was doing. What Dave was trying to do, and I'll delve into this a bit deeper later, but what he was trying to do was he was trying to lure in Trevor. It was a trap that he was setting up to lure in Trevor. He wasn't just keeping him at bay, although that was a part of it. He was also trying to lure Trevor in, along with trying to kind of keep him away from the truth.
I'll be so real, yeah? I don't care. On my life, yeah, I genuinely couldn't care less.
Switch to Trevor's perspective over here, okay? He's pumping out a crack lady, and then the second he walks out of his house, he stomps a man's head in. That's keeping him at bay. What the hell was... I know damn well he didn't just wake up today and start acting like this. I know he wasn't like a normal tax-paying, well-to-do citizen. He was definitely behaving something like this for the last 10 years. I don't know what you mean you were keeping him at bay.
Obviously, Trevor isn't some good-to-do citizen. He was actively on the run from the US government. He wasn't some good tax-paying citizen. No way. A criminal on the run from the US government doesn't pay his taxes? Wow. Sure, I get the overall point. Trevor is crazy. Trevor has always been crazy. They know Trevor's crazy.
You disingenuous, insane motherfucker.
But what is the kind of point here? What is the point in bringing up he wasn't a good citizen? He was actively on the run from the entirety of the US government. Well, of course he's not going to be a tax-paying, law-abiding, good citizen. He's one of the most notorious mass murderers in history, who when he was last publicly seen, was actively murdering police officers.
Fuck you! Don't be as dumb as you look! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
The last frame of reference they have for anything Trevor did back in the North Yankton Ludendorff heist was literally him actively slaughtering law enforcement.
It also forces us to go through the fucking window.
You know what would keep him at bay? Is if I know damn well they have to know he lives in the trailer in the middle of the desert.
No, they didn't know that he lived in the trailer in Sandy Shores. They knew he lived somewhere in Sandy Shores or that general area, but they never knew he lived in that exact trailer. That is why Dave is emailing him from Brad's perspective, to lure him into the prison so they can therefore arrest him and give him the death penalty.
Oh, bang. See you later. You go in prison. You go in prison.
Because this is not some small-time criminal. This is Trevor Phillips, one of the most notorious bank robbers and mass murderers in human history. He is not some small-timer. He is one of the most notorious criminals in history. He would be getting the death penalty. Do you not think if Dave, someone who is very concerned about his career, hence why he made the deal with Michael in the first place, Michael took advantage of the fact that Dave was corrupt and wants to further his career and therefore decided to snatch a deal with him where Dave gets the glory, Michael gets to go free. Do you not think someone who wants the glory in their career, like Dave, would not, if they could, take in the second most notorious mass murderer and bank robber in history? Trevor is on the record as torturing, murdering, robbing, doing every heinous act imaginable. Do you not think someone as corrupt, wanting to boost their career as Dave Norton would not take in Trevor if he was presented with a chance? Obviously he would take that chance. Anyone would, not just people corrupt wanting to further their careers. Anyone in general, if presented with such an opportunity, would take it. Because it's not ideal for society as a whole to have drug addicted, torturing, murderers, psychopaths, bank robbers running around.
What? Nah, I never knew that.
However, he doesn't. Why? Because he doesn't know that Trevor lives in Sandy Shores in that exact trailer. You're gonna bring up a plan here in a minute, and it wouldn't work regardless. Dave, if he could, would take in Trevor, but he can't.
Get a bunch of FBI agents, wait for him to go to bed, swarm him and tranquilize him like an elephant, and then put him in a freaking jail cell like Hannibal Lecter.
This would not go down particularly smoothly. Trevor is a crazy, unpredictable, insane meth guy. He doesn't sleep for days on end. He doesn't visit his trailer for days on end. There is no guarantee that you can wait for Trevor to be asleep in his trailer at night, because look at the switch scenes. There's switch scenes of him going on a binge, ending up in a dress on the middle of a mountain range.
Oh, I find the deer that pissed on me. I'm gonna eat its warm liver.
What do you think the FIB are going to do? Break down Trevor's door and just so happen to get lucky that he's there at that time? Wait for him to come back without knowing where he is, how long he'll be, or if he'll come back at all, because for all they know, he might have got himself killed, whether by drugs or trying to take on armies by himself, which he does throughout the game and pulls off. They do not have a clue when to wait for Trevor, because for all they know, he's either dead, he could be just gone for about a week, days, months. Who knows if he's just decided to up and leave because he thought he felt threatened. You know, this is a problem with someone who's so unpredictable as Trevor Phillips. You cannot predict where they will be, even if they have a house, because for all you know, he could be anywhere across the entire state of San Andreas. He could probably be anywhere across the country of America. He could be anywhere across North America as a continent. The guy had a pilot's license. He could take a plane and just fly to Canada because bear the hatchet. He flies across the entire country on a whim. They have no clue where he would be at a given time. You cannot track Trevor as the traditional technology one would use to track someone. He doesn't use. That's why Lester couldn't track him anymore. Lester was able to track him and then couldn't track him anymore after a certain point because Trevor doesn't use such technology that Lester uses to track people. And the only way you could track Trevor is to get people to go and actually physically watch him. And those people would probably not fare so well.
Fucking shit! N-word, 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 N-word.
There's too many variables to account for them to logically get lucky enough to where Trevor's home, he's asleep, and he is unprepared. Tranquilize him. They would be shooting him dead. It's Trevor Phillips. They're gonna go in and they would shoot him dead. They wouldn't tranquilize him like an elephant, and he wouldn't be put in a Hannibal Lecter cage. He'd put in the electric chair or lethal injection gas chamber, because that's what Franklin said in it. Regardless, there's so many variables to this plan and so many ways that it could go wrong, even if one of those variables is changed, that it's just not a very well thought out plan, is it? I know it's called gaming yaps and it's not scripted, but at least think about what you're saying before you decide that's mint, let's post that.
Yo, Diddy in the mix, rapping 80 in glass, touching Jews and Hitler, John Glass in the past.
Why did they even bury Brad in Michael's casket? Like, clearly Michael had a closed casket funeral, from what we can understand. No one opened up, because if they opened up that casket, they would have been like, hey, that's not Michael, what the hell, that's Brad. No one knew what was in there. You could have done a sack of potatoes in there, you could have done a mannequin, you could have done anything in there. For some reason, you're like, no, let's put Brad in.
There's multiple points to this, but man, for one, how do you think a funeral works? Even if it's closed casket, how do you think that body gets there? Do you think no one looks at it? Do you think no one, absolutely no one, sees the body? Do you think it just magically, he dies and then he magically is in a casket? No, that's not how that works! Someone, even, we'll get to this in a minute, the fact that no one knew what Michael, Trevor or Brad looked like, but we'll get to that in a minute. Even if they did, do you think that it would be wise to put nothing in there? Do you think it wise that this plan would have gone ahead without someone else or some, I don't know, a realistic doll that looks like Michael, a person who looks like Michael who just so happened to inconveniently die? What do you think a funeral is? The body doesn't, it's not Minecraft. You don't just spawn somewhere. You don't just spawn in a casket. Someone would have had to put the body in the casket, even if it's a closed casket funeral. How do you think Michael got away with being at his own funeral? If everyone knows what Michael looks like, how do you think that Michael got away with standing in visual proximity to his own funeral? How do you think he stayed on the run and evading law enforcement for such a long period of time if people knew what he looked like, if people knew what his name was? They used aliases. They wore masks.
You didn't have to cut me off.
Granted, Trevor took his mask off. In prologue, Michael had his ripped off, but the only things that could have saw them were the low security, the low visibility security cameras, which maybe aren't relevant, because there's, in the earlier versions of prologue, it was removed because it was slowing it, but in the earlier versions of prologue, you deleted said footage. So does it even matter? And even if so, would such low quality security cameras be able to pick up on the details of a human face when they're actively looking away from the cameras? No, they wouldn't. That is literally the only thing that could have captured Michael, Trevor and Brad's face. But it couldn't have even captured Brad's because his mask was on until he got in the car. So, how do you think all this works if people know what Michael looks like? How does the... No wonder it doesn't make sense if you can't pick up on the fact that they used aliases and wore masks. The basic thing every single criminal does: wear mask, use alias. It's like rule number 1 of a criminal: don't show your face, don't say your name. That's probably why Michael was there, to look for people who might be able to recognise that ain't Brad, or that ain't Michael. The reason they used Brad was once again improvised. They didn't intend to use Brad's body. He wasn't supposed to die. Who knows what their plan was? Me, because I'm probably going to explain it in a later video. But regardless of the original plan, how does the entire story of the game work if people know what Michael looks like? Do you not think it weird that he is able to walk around in public, go near TV cameras, and Trevor walked into a police station on one mission with not the slightest fear of recognition? Do you not think that weird if people knew what they looked like? Do you not think it weird that Michael just so happened to be at his funeral despite being recognisable and the only thing hiding his appearance, a hat and sunglasses? Do you not think that's slightly off if people know what he looks like? It seems like such a basic principle. They didn't know what Michael looked like, so that it didn't matter who was in the casket. Now people will bring up, why didn't they use the local Yoko? Because 1, he wasn't planned to die either. 2, he was shot in the middle of a road. And 3, he was local, so it was more likely for people to recognise the body of a local as not the notorious mass murderer that they just killed. It's more obvious to notice that if it's more likely people will know the guy. It's not this difficult to grasp that they didn't know what Michael looked like. It seems like an obvious connection to make, but then again, this guy clearly played the game maybe a few times, half paid attention to the story, and, you know, whatever. Not everyone is a complete autistic nerd like I am, and studies the lore of a video game. Let's just move on.
Why couldn't Trevor have lost Brad? Is that just the straw that's gonna break the camel's back? Like, I don't understand that. And you could have said, yeah, Brad was around for 2 years, then he got stabbed in prison. And what's Trevor gonna do? Break into the prison and trying to get revenge? I'm sorry, like, I just don't understand.
The reason Brad isn't killed is because he's their best shot. Do you get it? Shot. At bringing in Trevor, he's their best shot. It also works better with a story to tell as a perspective if there's one person who's clearly a victim of sorts, and Trevor can therefore connect to Brad, distance from Michael, but also because it's not Brad and is instead Dave, can be directed into not committing acts of horrific violence against Michael, which isn't what Dave wants.
I'm gonna get that fucking Michael Townley. It's the last thing I do.
Look, it's easy when you say it out loud to understand, but when you think about it, it's quite obvious why they didn't kill the most valuable asset that they had, that being the Brad personality that they were using, and eventually maybe it would have worked to lure in Trevor. Maybe he would have slipped up somehow and would have accidentally said the wrong thing, revealed where he was. It's not particularly likely, but it's a possibility that it could have happened. Maybe he would have actually just seen that, oh, well, I've got nothing going on right now, I've got no big worries, let's go visit Brad. Now, would he have done that? I'm gonna be honest, no. But it's still, from Dave's perspective, it's still a lot simpler to keep going with that than have to explain Brad's dead, and now you have no one, and now all Trevor's anger, all that rage, that betrayal, there's no one to vent to, and so instead it's focused solely on Michael, putting all the pressure on Michael to come up with the answers rather than Dave when he has time to think. It doesn't seem that difficult to put pieces together if you're going to think about it. Now sure, again, not everyone thinks about it, but if you're going to make a video about it, maybe think about it before you ask the internet. This doesn't make sense. This is a bit stupid, isn't it? The comments seem to... There's also one key part of this entire video and the entire comment section they're missing. Michael wasn't in witness protection. The FIB as a whole wasn't involved with the whole scheme. It was just Michael and Dave. That's a key part that when you bring up, this whole kind of thing starts to fall apart. That Michael wasn't in witness protection. Why would he be? It's the meme. It's been a meme for years. Witness protection for what? No one was convicted of anything. Brad is dead. Trevor is apparently dead. And or Michael is apparently dead. And Trevor runs away. Who would he be in witness protection from? Why would he be... Trevor? You're gonna say Trevor? Really? You're gonna say Trevor? He'd be in witness protection from Trevor when he was supposed to kill Trevor! What do you mean? This whole thing falls apart with the one bit of information that Michael wasn't actually in witness protection. Believe it or not, mass murderers and criminals typically do quite a lot of lying. It's just... when you play the game and listen to the dialogue, his whole video crumbles to pieces if you think about it. It just... nothing lines up! But anyway, no hate towards this guy. He's just a guy who's yapping about a game that he played and half paid attention to. It's just... it's not that serious. Yeah, no hate to this guy. I just like talking about lore of games that I like, and this channel is specifically GTA focused. So yeah, that's about it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you made it this far, which I don't know how you could because I'm incredibly irritating. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe for hopefully more content, more frequent than it has been recently. I promise I'm gonna start actually uploading again, and I'm gonna be consistent this time. Please, let's hope I'm consistent this time, and let's hope I get more than just like 15 views, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's about it. Hopefully see you sooner than 2 months. How long has it been? 2 months? Yeah, it was December, I remember. Yeah, it was all the way back in December the last video I actually made. I did a compilation of all my GTA videos for the year. I can't remember when that went up. I think it was late December. But I remember I did the GTA Online video, which would have been my last video, and that would have been, yeah, 2 months ago. Well, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it. And stay tuned for more epic YouTubing content, such as me discussing lore of a 13-year-old game. Have a good one.
You disingenuous, dense motherfucker!